Hello and welcome to an India Today special broadcast that comes to you from conflict zone Ukraine. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Over the course of the next half hour, India Today's team of reporters will get you ground reports from active war zone from Kyiv to Bucha to Irpin to Kharkiv. India Today is the only channel with boots on ground at multiple battle zones and conflict centers. New defenses are being set up on the outskirts of Kyiv. The battle is inching closer to the Ukrainian capital. If you look behind me right there, there are additional cranes, tanks and armored personnel carriers that have been deployed so that more defenses can be set up closer to Kyiv. Now, the head of the army here in Kyiv, he's sounded the alarm bells. He has said that the Russian army is now regrouping, rearming, reassessing itself for the attack on Kyiv, and Chechen fighters and Spetsnaz commandos are joining in this battle. This special ground report on the alarm bells that are ringing across Ukraine.
The heart of Ukraine, the citadel of Ukraine, is gearing up for a mammoth assault. There's a huge Russian convoy slowly making its way to the city of Kyiv. And the Ukraine army has sounded its biggest warning yet to citizens. A top Ukrainian army general has said that Russia's combat-ready units are now regrouping on the outskirts of Kyiv for an assault like no other.
Kyiv is bracing for it. Kyiv has been bracing for it, but now it's imminent. Now it's likely to happen any time is what we are being told as soon as this ceasefire lapses, because this ceasefire is only perhaps the last chance for foreigners to leave this place, for non-combatants to leave this place. And that is why Russia unilaterally has announced 2 ceasefires in 48 hours.
The warning has got Ukrainians living in the capital rattled. The reality that this huge Russian convoy could very soon be seen rolling through the streets of Kyiv.
We got a bad news from Irpin that around 30% of the city is still under the control of Russian troops. And the bad news is that the army of Kadyrov, they're just getting into the houses of people. They are taking their money. They are behave themselves as the looters, as a crazy looters, because they are with the guns, people without heat, energy, without food. It's very hard for them, and the Kadyrov army takes the last that they can take from these people.
Russian troops are now focusing all their energy on capturing Kyiv. Their aggression doubled after this video from Ukraine President Zelensky confirming that he's indeed camping in the capital currently.
Ось вечірній Київ. Понеділок, вечір. Ви знаєте, ми звикли говорити понеділок день важкий. В країні війна, тож кожен день понеділок. Я залишаюсь тут, залишаюсь у Києві, на Банковій, не ховаючись і нікого не боюсь, стільки, скільки потрібно, щоб перемогти у цій нашій вітчизняній війні.
Russian troops, meanwhile, are bombarding cities bordering Kyiv. This is the situation in cities like Irpin, where civilians are fleeing in large numbers. And people can be seen struggling to cross a decimated and broken bridge. Russia is moving closer and closer to Kyiv. But Ukrainians are vowing to fight back with all they've got.
13 days that were there since the beginning of war, we were able to regroup, we were able to prepare. Our forces are stronger than ever. Our resistance groups are ready to fight. We are ready for a siege if it happens. And the only thing that we do really need right now is the protection from the air.
The final assault will no doubt be a bloody and deadly one on the capital of Kyiv, as Russia will look to end the invasion by capturing the citadel. Ukraine, however, has made it clear they will ensure it's no walkover for Putin's army. Bureau Report, India Today.
Over more than 16,000 foreign fighters have now arrived in Ukraine to fight side by side with the Ukrainian army against the Russian forces. It was after the call from President Zelensky to put up resistance against the Russian forces that these foreign fighters have come in and joined the Ukrainian Foreign Legion.
Get out of the train station, go to the safe zone.
Michael Furcall says he is a former U.S. Army engineer who was in Rome studying archaeology when he heard Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's appeal for foreign fighters. Within days, Furcall was at the train station in the western Ukrainian city of Lviv, boarding a train to Kyiv, hoping to volunteer as a medic.
I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest, but at the same time, like, it's not about me, it's about the people that are suffering there. So coming out, when you see the images, you see the people that are here right now, you understand that you're not suffering, this is more about them.
Ukraine has established an international legion for volunteers from abroad, and Zelensky has publicly urged foreigners to fight side by side with Ukrainians. Some of the foreign fighters say they are attracted by the cause, to halt what they view as an unprovoked attack in a once-in-a-generation showdown between the forces of democracy and dictatorship, even if it may have been a tough sell for their families back home.
They're not happy, to say the least. Definitely not happy, but they're proud.
A man who identified himself only as Jax was among a group of British fighters headed to Kyiv. They were led by Ben Grant, who had just completed a month-long stint as a security advisor in Iraq. Grant was unclear whether his men would be deployed independently or as part of a Ukrainian unit.
We're going to wait, to be honest, and see what the situation is as we get further in.
Another man who said he was a former British soldier and Afghanistan veteran, who calls himself Kruger, warned that even those who have previously seen fighting might struggle in Ukraine's war zones.
If you're out here as a war tourist, it's not the place for you. I think the realities of war, if you head out to the front, is going to be pretty overwhelming.
Although it is unclear how many foreign fighters had arrived in Ukraine, President Zelensky said last week that more than 16,000 foreigners had volunteered.
Over to Sergei in Kyiv for the next big update from Ground Zero.
12 days of Russia invasion has turned Ukraine into a war-torn country. It also is a country that stands defend against all odds and its fight. But constant shelling and massing attack by Russian on Ukrainian cities have turned them into ghost towns.
Zaporizhzhia is a city in southeastern Ukraine on the banks of the Dnieper River. As per 2021, the city had a population of 722,713. It is also the site of Ukraine's largest nuclear power plant, now captured by Russian forces. Close to 2 weeks of Russian invasion has forced the inhabitants of the city to flee the war and destruction for safety. But Yulia couldn't. She had to stay back to take care of her ailing mother. But she sent her 11-year-old son on a 1,000-kilometer journey on his own to Slovakia.
My name is Yulia Volodymyrivna Pisechka. I want to express my sincere gratitude to all the Slovak customs officers and the volunteers in Slovakia who cared for my son. They helped him to cross the border on his own.
Zaporizhzhia Oblast, or the district, is known for its heavy industry. But with the Russian invasion, the city and the district now wears the look of a war zone. Kharkiv, in the northeast of Ukraine, was the first capital of the Soviet Socialist Republic of Ukraine. In January 1934, the capital was relocated to Kyiv. During World War II, 4 battles took place for control of Kharkiv. Nearly 1/3 of Kharkiv's population became slave workers for Germans, while 30,000 were executed and nearly 100,000 people starved to death during the Nazi occupation of World War II. Post-war, Kharkiv was rebuilt in the architectural style of Stalinist classicism. In the next 3 decades, Kharkiv became the third largest scientific and industrial center of the former USSR. In independent Ukraine, Kharkiv became the second largest city after Kyiv. Russian tanks and shelling has left deep scars all across the city. Russia has called for a ceasefire in Kharkiv for the time being. On the Dnieper River, the capital city of Ukraine, with a population of 2,962,118, woke up in disbelief to the sound of sirens on 24th of February. This seventh most populous city in Europe has been waiting for Russians since that day. Now the bustling cities of Kyiv are empty. Air raid sirens have become a daily routine. Sirens sound day and night. The atmosphere is tense, and Ukrainian soldiers steer locals away from possible sites of conflict. Civilians started to leave the city, but some stayed back to defend their lives and the city that they loved. Closer to Kyiv airport, Antonov was captured by Russian troops, as was Kherson city in the south. Cities like Mykolaiv, Irpin, Chernihiv, and Vinnytsia have faced the wrath of Russian shelling.
Всім добрий вечір. Лідер фракції тут, голова Офісу президента тут.
Good evening, everyone. Everyone from the Ukrainian leadership is here. Our troops are here. Citizens are here. All of us here are protecting the independence of our nation. Glory to our defenders. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to heroes.
Нашу державу. І так буде й далі. Слава нашим захисникам, слава нашим захисницям. Слава Україні! Ми не пробачимо розстріли.
We will not forgive the shootings of unarmed people, the destruction of our infrastructure. We won't forgive hundreds and hundreds of victims, thousands and thousands of sufferings. And God won't forgive, not today, not tomorrow, never.
Ні завтра, ніколи.
But the war carries on.
My other colleague in Kyiv, Gita, will now tell you how Russia is paying for this war.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine has come at a huge cost. Oligarchs are losing money. Top brands and companies have halted operations in Russia, and luxury brands have shut shop. Here is a ground report.
All-out Russian attack bleeding Ukraine. As war intensifies, Russia feels the heat too. But away from the death, destruction and fire, Moscow is silently bleeding too. While Putin is not personally hit, punitive global sanctions and business boycotts have begun to bite. Russians no longer have access to global super luxury apparel brands like Louis Vuitton, Zara, Hermes, Chanel, who are dumping Russia in droves. Once the hub of super luxury brands, high streets of Kuznetsny Most and Stolishnikov, Perilok are now empty. Nike, Puma, Adidas have all stopped operations across Russia.
More and more Western companies are withdrawing from the Russian market. Today there was an announcement that Nike, Zara, Massimo Dutti and even Gucci and Versace would stop providing their Russian customers with their services.
British car maker Bentley, American brands Ford and Coca-Cola are no longer operating in Russia. Global furniture brand IKEA, which shut its shop, saw a massive rush at its outlets in Moscow on the last day of operation, as Russians rushed to own whatever was available. With raining sanctions from global entities, it's the Russians who are paying the cost of war in their own country. Putin's alleged cronies, the Russian super-rich, are bleeding billions. After losing yachts and private jets and their assets getting frozen, crippling losses now stare the oligarchs in their face. Some of the most influential billionaires from Putin's inner circle have been hit the hardest as the world tightens curbs. India today has now gained access to the seized Lady M, the super yacht of Russian oligarch Alexei Mordashov. The super luxury yacht is now moored in Imperia.
We are in the harbor, and this behind me is the $65 million yacht of Alexei Mordashov, one of the richest oligarchs of Russia. It's a 52 meters boat, and its name is Lady M, in honor of his wife. This is one of the yachts that has been taken by European authorities following the sanctions imposed to Russian millionaires.
The global boycott and curbs have reduced Moscow to virtually a global pariah. But can they make Putin change his mind? Bureau Report, India Today.
What is Russian President Vladimir Putin up to? My colleague Rajesh Pawar tells you more.
Vladimir Putin appears to be the solitary leader calling the shots, but it is not so. He is surrounded by an inner circle of army generals and defense experts who are advising him how to conduct this war and about his foreign policy. Let's have a look at these men of power in Moscow.
India Today's team of reporters will continue to report from Ground Zero. This special broadcast comes to you on the Bucha-Irpin road. This is where we are, and the battle is now moving closer towards Kyiv. But our team will continue to report from Ground Zero and get you more. That is all I have time for on this special broadcast from Kyiv, Ukraine. Many thanks for watching.